This is Cindi Lincoln. This is Kent Hovind's third wife. Hovind famously, I think in 2021, it was October 2020 when the event happened, but in April 2021, I believe he was charged and sentenced and served time in jail for battery. Basically, he body slammed her onto the ground. He grabbed her, he picked her up, and he threw her to the ground. And he went to jail for a year, suspended after 30 days, which basically means he spent 30 days in jail, and the next 12 months or 11 months, the remaining 11 months were going to be spent on probation. And if he messed something up, didn't meet with his probation officer, or failed a drug test or whatever, he would go to jail. So he spends 30 days in jail. Just a few years ago, this happened, for physically body slamming this woman here. They're separated now, obviously. And bizarrely, in his own defense, he released audio recording of him body slamming her. He was like, I don't want to play it because it's hard to listen to for anybody. And it was hard for me to listen to because I, grew up with an abusive father, terribly abusive father. So the point is, like, I don't want to give anybody genuine PTSD from listening to it. So I'm not going to play it. But it was bad. It didn't exonerate him at all. It seemed pretty incriminating to me. Anyway, this is before that happened. This video is, she's about to teach a class, a legitimate class on Dinosaur Adventureland, which is a cult compound, by the way, about quote-unquote Hovind theory, which is the idea that there was a giant ice canopy that surrounded the Earth before Noah's flood. And and all of the water, or much of the water, came from this ice canopy, like, falling down from the sky, basically. So let's listen to what she has to say here on Hovind theory.
So here we are again at Dinosaur Adventureland, where God gets the glory for his creation instead of evolution. We are going to start day 2 now of our Science Center tour. Okay, so day 2, God said, let there be a firmament in the middle of the waters. Let it divide the waters which are under the firmament from the waters which are above the firmament. Question. What is a firmament?
Oh my God. In all seriousness, people in the Old Testament believed that the earth was, I don't know that they had any strict beliefs about it being round or flat, but they thought it was a big, long, flat plane with a dome over top of it, actually. We're talking, 6,000 years ago kind of thing.
The firmament is?
God, she's pretending that, I don't know, she's talking to like children. And it's so incredibly cringy, this kind of persona that people pick up when they're talking to children. It's the type of persona that people have who have never dealt directly with children.
We're going to look for clues, okay? You have a choice right now. You could close your Bible and say, this book's too hard.
It's so cringy, dude. Please.
Or you could do a little digging. What, Nathan?
It's like heaven.
It says right here, God called the firmament heaven.
It's so cringy. Please don't.
Okay, that's a clue. Later on, we're going to read that the birds fly in the open firmament of heaven. Okay? It's air. Birds fly in the air. So, this is telling us there's going to be waters above the air and waters below the air.
This is the basis of Hovind theory. They believe, unironically, that there was water above the air, quote unquote, that there was an ice dome above the earth. I mean, this is fucking insane.
Are there waters above the air today? Kind of clouds.
The kids don't know what to say. They're waiting for her to validate what they're supposed to believe.
The rain comes out of clouds.
This is child abuse, by the way, in one man's humble opinion. You shouldn't be allowed to, in a professional setting, lie to children so flagrantly by teaching them like flat earth or something. I don't know. It's complicated, but this is rough, dude.
But Dr. Hovind has a theory.
He's not a doctor. He got a quote unquote PhD from a single person it was like a diploma mill who ran this thing out of their own house. And it's not accredited. It's not recognized by literally anybody as legitimate in any way, shape, or form. And his quote-unquote dissertation was complete nonsense. The whole thing was complete fucking nonsense.
That the waters above used to be more than clouds, but actually like a whole glass ball.
Oh, God, dude. She says it so confidently. A whole glass ball. The earth was surrounded by a glass ball. Oh my God, dude. These are children.
Okay, it's called the Hovind theory. He believes the waters above used to be frozen and we were in an ice ball. Okay? So
it's so fucking stupid, dude.
Here's waters above.
This doesn't make any sense scientifically how this would work. It couldn't possibly work this way.
Here's the air in between, and then here's the waters below. Now these waters show pictures of green stuff, but remember we don't have any plants yet. Just waters below and waters above. Praise him, ye heavens of heavens, and ye waters that be above the heavens. Now,
Hold on, Psalm 148:4, let me get the context on that. It's an exhortation for the highest heavens and the waters above them to praise God. It's part of a larger psalm that calls upon all of creation to praise the Lord, from the highest celestial bodies to the deepest part of the earth. Let me see if I can get some info on this. All right, here we go. So Psalm 148:4 reflects ancient Near Eastern cosmology, as opposed to Middle Eastern. It was Near Eastern. It was a specific region where this was being discussed at the time. It was Near Eastern cosmology that was shared across Mesopotamian, Egyptian, Canaanite, and Hebrew cultures. In this worldview, the universe was conceived as a three-tiered structure: the heavens above, the earth in the middle, and the underworld below. The waters above the heavens refers to the ancient belief in a primordial cosmic ocean that existed above the firmament, the solid dome of the sky. When God created the firmament in Genesis 1:6-7, it was understood to separate this cosmic ocean into two bodies: waters above the firmament, waters above the firmament and waters below on earth. This verse represents a few things. One, ancient phenomenological cosmology. The ancient Near Eastern view is based on common observation rather than scientific inquiry. It also represents poetic praise, not scientific description. Psalm 148 is a hymn calling all of creation to praise God. And number three, it represents common interpretation among early commentators. Traditional Jewish and Christian commentators often understood these waters above the heavens as clouds or rain stored in the sky, not a literal ice canopy. So they refer to waters above the heavens because water came from heaven in the form of rain. Okay, so here's how they viewed the earth at the time. There's a three-tiered universe. The Hebrew Bible depicted a three-part world. This is Old Testament. This is how they viewed the earth in the Old Testament when it was written. They depicted a three-part world with the heavens, with the heavens above, earth in the middle, and the underworld below. Ares is the earth, Sheol is the underworld, and Shamayim was the heavens above, I guess. This is explicitly referenced in the second commandment, Exodus 24. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is on the earth, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Number two is the solid firmament. They believe there's a solid firmament. The Hebrew word rakia is understood by biblical scholars to be a solid dome-like structure. It separates the water into two parts, so there's water above the rakia and below it. The word comes from the root meaning to beat out or hammer flat, like beating metal into a sheet. The Septuagint, the Greek translation, used the word stereoma, meaning solid body, and the Latin Vulgate used firmamentum, giving us the English word firmament. The key passage is Job 37:18 here. This passage describes the sky as being like a molten mirror, consistent with the solid structure, not empty space. And they believed that the stars were set in firmament. Genesis 1:17 describes the stars as set in or implanted in the firmament. It makes perfect sense if the firmament is a solid dome where celestial objects are embedded or attached, but makes no sense with modern cosmology. And regarding the flat disc-shaped Earth, the three-part world of heavens, earth, the underworld, floated in Tehom, the mythological cosmic ocean, which covered the earth until God created the firmament to divide it into upper and lower portions and reveal the dry land. Multiple passages suggest a flat earth. Isaiah 40:22, the circle of the earth. Earth has four corners, earth has ends, earth rests on foundations or pillars. I mean, this is like old nonsensical cosmology from people who had no idea what was going on. So the point is that I'm not sure why Kent Hovind decided to go with a round or a globular spheroid Earth when evidence from the Bible is just as strong that they believed in a flat Earth. Why didn't you go with that? Why didn't you say the Earth is flat, as well as claiming that it's what do you call it? Like, as well as claiming that it's got like a firmament above it and it's separated into like an ice barrier and all this other shit.
Hovind is not the only one who has this ice theory. Yes, sir?
Hovind isn't the only one with the ice theory. Yeah, he pretty much is, actually. Just about all other young earth creationists, or yeks, if you will, have given up on it because it's fucking absurd.
But out the bubble of water, God popped it, and that's how the flood came.
God popped the bubble of water, and that's how the flood came. This is so fucking sad, dude, and disgusting that they are brainwashing children like this. This is straight up wrong.
Yes, we're going to learn about that a little bit more later. That's true. Okay, so this is two other people that believe the same theory, okay? Josephus was a Jewish historian. He wrote about the time of Jesus.
Josephus was a historian in the time and region, but as far as I understand it, most of the mentions of Jesus were forgeries. There were like 5 mentions, I think, and almost all, if not all, were forgeries. There's very little objective evidence that Jesus existed. But historians, as far as I understand it, generally agree that Jesus was probably a real person, just based on the way that accounts are written about him, because they had to kind of rewrite his story in obviously false ways to make it make sense and fit with prophecy. Like, why would they place him as being born in Nazareth when the Old Testament says the Messiah, the Son of Man, will be born in Bethlehem? That doesn't make any sense. We know he's from Nazareth. His family is from Nazareth. So they fabricated a fake census, which never happened in history, to get his family to travel to Bethlehem so that he could he could be born there. That's fake. That didn't happen. That's not real. Why would the Bible writers fabricate that information? If he were really just made up, they would have just created somebody with the attributes of the Son of Man right out the gate instead of making them up and changing them, right? So it's things like that. And that's just my kind of analysis of the situation. You can listen to way more detailed information about why they think Jesus is probably a real person from like Bart Ehrman, for example. He's really good on that stuff.
And so he lived right around the same time as Jesus did. He said that God set the heaven above the universe and surrounded it with ice.
Wait, Josephus said this? Josephus said he set the heaven above the universe, surrounding it with ice and making it moist, rainy. Is that what she said just now?
God set the heaven above the universe and surrounded it with ice, making it moist and rainy to benefit the earth. And
I have no idea what she's talking about here. Josephus who said this? Josephus did not say this. She's quoting Josephus here. After this, on the second day, he placed the heaven over the whole world and separated it from the other parts and determined it should stand by itself. He also placed crystalline firmament round it. Another translation of Josephus, Book 1, Chapter 1. Okay, so I'm getting the impression that this is a paraphrase of the next section. I'm just trying to figure out what the fuck this is about. This is so confusing, dude. Josephus was a Jewish guy who, I believe, fought in the Roman army and later on went on to write contemporary histories, basically, like big, thick books about what life was like there and what was going on. And it is the most reliable historical source that we have from that time and place, pretty much. And again, like a lot of his stuff was forged, or some of his stuff was forged because they wanted to place Jesus in the story. They wanted to convince people that Jesus was real and there, and Josephus was there and believed it, so that they can claim that there are contemporary accounts about Jesus performing miracles. And that's just not true. It's just not. It's a lie. They're forgeries. They're fake. It's falsehoods. You know, you from time to time you hear people say there are eyewitness accounts written about Jesus. Blah, 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 blah. No, there aren't. There are not eyewitness accounts. There just aren't. They're probably referring to Josephus or some other people like that. Now, regarding Josephus here, here's what he actually said. There are two different translations of the same passage, and they say different things. First of all, remember that Josephus is commonly forged. There are he is one of the more common people or historians that people forge records about. So don't forget that as we read through here. The Whiston translation, 1737. After this, on the second day, he placed the heaven over the whole world and separated it from other parts, and he determined it should stand by itself. He also placed a crystalline firmament around it and put it together in a manner agreeable to the earth and fitted it for giving blah, blah, blah. So that's one translation. That's the one we're looking at here. Then there's the Lieb Classical Library translation, more accurate, modern scholarly translation. After this, on the second day, he set the heaven above the universe, where when he was pleased to sever this from the rest and to assign it a place apart, congealing ice about it, and withal rendering it moist and rainy, blah, blah, blah. Here are the critical problems with Cindi's claim. Josephus is not describing an ice canopy above Earth. According to Josephus, God froze some of the water to keep it uplifted above the earth. The ice melts to let it rain on earth. This is Josephus describing the ancient cosmology of a solid firmament. He's explaining how the dome worked in the ancient worldview. The Greek word doesn't mean what she thinks it means. The Greek word is krustallos, which can mean crystal or ice. Ice is the older meaning. When Josephus wrote in the 1st century CE, he was using ancient Greek concepts. Crystalline in ancient thought didn't mean clear or transparent like we think today. It meant ice-like or solid-like frozen water. Josephus was describing ancient cosmology, not modern science. But at the end of the day, Cindi Lincoln and Kent Hovind believe this ancient Near Eastern cosmology rather than believing science, because they want to believe in this young earth garbage, even though there's no evidence for it. In fact, there's evidence against it. There's actively evidence that this is a falsehood, a lie.
And this book by Louis Ginsburg talks about the legends of the Jewish people. They also believed that it was made to crystallize into the solid, and it would be about 2 or 3 fingers thick. Okay?
Wow, that's not very thick. 2 or 3 fingers thick. I mean, they're talking about the ice sheet, right? How could it possibly be maintained at that thickness? It would break apart, right?
So, you've got 2 or 3 fingers all the way around the planet, okay? I forgot to mention something.
I'm sorry, dude. That's even more insane than before. An ice barrier, a dome, so you're telling me it's maybe 2 inches thick at most, right? An ice barrier is 2 inches thick around the entire planet, and it didn't shatter or fall apart or run into the earth in certain points or whatever? Really?
There are waters above.
Yeah, that couldn't withstand a day of sunlight, as Van Briggs says. That's insane. What? What the fuck are they talking about? This is nonsense.
And it's like 200 below up there. What would happen to the waters? 200 below zero is
freezing.
Freezing. You would have ice. Okay, so that's what Dr. Hovind believes, that it was a
God, it's so cringy and terrible and painful. Please, no.
ice bubble. Now, the purpose of that would be to make like a greenhouse. Did you
You see, it's magic ice, says Yargentry. Yes, it's magic ice. That's my mistake. I was misunderstanding. I thought it was plain old, regular, traditional, standard ice. My mistake.
Just a reminder, I would really appreciate it if you guys checked out my Patreon. If you're not going to donate, you don't have to, but follow me there at the very least. owenmorgan.com/Patreon. Just in case something happens with the government or whatever. It would be really good if you had some way to connect with me and my content. I'm really concerned about that. And maybe you should consider that for other creators too.
Let's go in our greenhouse outside. Did you see how the plants are like so much greener and taller than everything else that you see? I just put that up in March of last year, so less than a year. I bought little teeny plants like this for like $4 on the internet. Now they're like less than a year. Greenhouses are amazing. I'm not sure why. I know one of the things that blocks out harmful rays, like X-rays, gamma rays, I don't know what else. And it also, like Josephus said, it makes it moist and seals it in for the warmth. It does not freeze in there. So I can have papaya, mango, starfruit, things that if you take them out of the greenhouse, they'll die in the freeze. Okay, it doesn't freeze inside my greenhouse. Yes, sir?
We had a greenhouse with cucumbers and
Dude, this is child abuse, right? Is this child abuse?
tomatoes.
I bet they grew much bigger than if they were not in a greenhouse. That's cool. In fact, do you know sometimes you buy a potato and it starts to grow little roots out of it? I took some of those, I cut them off, and I had, I don't know, 5 or 6 little potato roots, and I put them in my greenhouse. Do you know they went to where they're hanging over the side? They're so big. They took over the whole thing. They just grew like in a week. And now I was watering the other day, and the water was washing away the dirt, and what did I see? Potatoes? Red-skinned potatoes.
Okay. Yes, you bury things and they grow. I don't understand what point she's making here.
So cool! That's how God made potatoes.
That's how God made potatoes. He was peeling potatoes up in heaven, and he dropped some of the peels in the ground, and they grew. Is that what you're trying to tell me? Is that what happened?
Is that so cool? Okay, so if the old original earth where Adam and Eve were placed was a paradise, warm, toasty, and perfect, you would think that maybe they might live longer. For example, your tomatoes lived a lot longer in a greenhouse than they would live outside. Maybe in a greenhouse they'll be big and green, lots of tomatoes. Outside maybe they'll be little and yellow and brown and no tomatoes.
Okay. I don't think that the temperature affects the species of tomato or the strain of tomato or whatever. But all right, go on.
Okay. Well, there is evidence that the ancient world was like a greenhouse.
No. Oh my God. I've heard this claim from Kent Hovind. He believes that there was massive air pressure and tons and tons and tons of oxygen as a result of this 2 or 3 inch ice barrier around the entire planet. And higher oxygen content and pressure meant that dragonflies grew to 12 feet tall or 12 feet long, whatever. I mean, it's insane. The whole thing is fucking insane and absurd, and there's no basis in reality to any of this.
Lots of evidence, actually. I could bore you with how many evidences there are.
There is no evidence of any of this shit.
But this is a piece of amber. I'll show you a piece of amber. So when Noah's flood came and all the trees got knocked down, they would have dumped all their sap, and it turns into amber.
Okay, all right. I don't think that's exactly right, but sure.
Want to hold that? And this is an example of an air bubble that has been trapped in amber.
Dude, these poor kids, seriously.
So if you believe in Noah's flood, that means that air would be air from before the flood. Now they have analyzed the air bubbles in amber.
Who is they?
And they show 32% oxygen. Today, we only have 21% oxygen.
I believe that there is some truth to this, but hang on, let me just verify. Okay, here we go. He's referencing one 1980s or early 90s paper where scientists analyze gas bubbles trapped in amber deposits. This is like the popular Creationist telephone game version of that paper. Amber had 32% oxygen. That means the whole world atmosphere was 32% oxygen, and that's why animals were giants. The fact is, we do analyze oxygen content and stuff in air bubbles, primarily from ice cores in Antarctica. We can drill, tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of years worth of ice cores, winter-summer cycles, out of Antarctic ice and analyze the oxygen and carbon content of the ancient atmosphere of that time. And we can also gauge how much carbon was in a respirating organism if it dies and it's preserved at a certain point. So if or in a certain way. That's what carbon dating is. We're looking at how much carbon is contained in this fossil or this creature that died. We look at how much carbon was there and we compare it to the carbon levels in the ice cores at certain times, and we can tell between 1,000 and 50,000 years, roughly, give or take, how old something is, or which era it was from at the very least. That's carbon dating, but it doesn't stretch back very far. We can only gauge how old something is by that method so much. 50,000 years about the limit. But finding a piece of amber with 32% oxygen content in it does not mean that the ancient world had 32% oxygen. The amber gas sampling was extremely rough and not reliable at scale. Even that research never claimed oxygen was uniformly 32% planet-wide. More recent work shows a range of oxygen variation over geological history, not a constant superoxygen golden age. So this is just complete nonsense. Let me see if I can find the highest global oxygen rate. The highest generally accepted global atmospheric O2 peak in Earth history is roughly 30 to 32%, and the current best evidence places that peak in the late Carboniferous to early Permian, around 300 million years ago. It's extremely important nuance, though. The peak was not the dinosaur era. That peak was not steady or uniform across the entire planet. It was a geochemical spike lasting a limited geological window, not a stable, permanent atmospheric state. Dinosaurs came 70 to 150 million years later when O2 was not at that peak. So this is nonsense.
That's a 50% increase. When you have more oxygen and when it's in a pressurized bubble, your blood plasma can become oxygen saturated and you can run and run forever and never get tired.
Okay. So breathing higher than normal oxygen does not make you superhuman. Your hemoglobin is already 98% saturated with oxygen at normal sea level air. Your limiter in endurance is not lack of oxygen supply to the lungs. It's glucose/glycogen availability, lactate production, ATP regeneration rate, heat and CO2 offloading, muscle fiber and fatigue, and muscle fiber fatigue. Oxygen is not the bottleneck. That is fucking insane. We can already test this in real life. We put COPD patients, ICU patients, pilots, athletes, etc. on supplemental oxygen all the time. Can they run and never get tired? No, obviously.
Pretty cool. Also, this is a list of ball teams that have paid $100,000 to get a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Okay, kind of like Michael Jackson had. It has hyper means extra, baric means pressure. Okay, that means extra pressure. The oxygen's being pushed into you, and also extra oxygen. So check it out. They spend $100,000 for these machines because they heal twice as fast.
Let's find out. I don't believe that's the case, but I just want to fact check everything, This is not true. This is a lie. What is actually true about hyperbaric oxygen chambers? They do have legitimate medical uses, but they're very specific and regulated. Decompression sickness is one of the uses, carbon monoxide poisoning, certain serious wound healing situations in diabetics with poor circulation, gas gangrene, radiation injury, necrosis. In these cases, it helps because tissue perfusion of O2 is impaired or poisoned. So forcing oxygen into tissues under pressure gives a therapeutic workaround. But it does not heal normal, healthy people twice as fast, does not make you a superhuman. It does not make you never get tired, and it doesn't massively accelerate muscle recovery in normal biology. This is nonsense. This is just a flat out lie.
Ball players, they fall, they get hit, they get injured. They go in their hyperbaric oxygen chamber, they heal twice as fast. This is another example of how the early Earth must have been in a greenhouse effect. This is our little section on gigantism, okay? This funny looking piece of wood here is actually a replica from a fossil of a millipede. Okay, today millipedes are like this. This is an actual...
Again, there were like lots of very large creatures back then. It was not the result of 32% oxygen on the planet. This is just complete and total nonsense. There isn't a grain of truth to this at all. This is a flat-out, bald-faced lie.
Size fossil of a millipede that has been found in the fossil record. It shows something called gigantism, evidence that the Earth was once lush, like a greenhouse and a hyperbaric chamber. The Bible talks about the Garden of Eden. Evidence matches the Bible. This little picture here actually shows really gigantism, okay? You see there's the person for scale. We all know dinosaurs.
Dude, do you think this is an actual real picture or something? I don't understand. Is she saying that like somebody snapped a photo or something of like of a dinosaur while it was alive or something?
Dinosaurs got huge. We're saying that if the Earth was in a greenhouse originally, everything would have gotten huge.
This is not true. This is just a flat out lie. Or she doesn't understand how reality works. I'm not sure which.
Okay, I want to show you another one. This is a picture of Dr. Hovind. He's 6'1".
Damn, he's tall.
Next to a fossilized turtle in the Yale Museum. So if he's 6 foot, 2 Dr. Hovinds would be 12 foot. This turtle is 12 feet. That's gigantic. He must have been in a much different world than today. This is a normal.
Yeah, obviously things were very different like millennia ago. But again, she doesn't even believe that things existed millennia ago. She thinks 6,000 years is the limit. So I guess, you know, a millennia being 1,000 years. I suppose she does think millennia ago, but not beyond that. It's insane, dude. It is insane.
Turtle shell, smaller than me, not double my size. Okay? This is another example of gigantism. This guy is laying out like this on top of an oyster, a fossil oyster. It's a rock. It's on top of a mountain.
I'm not sure if this is true or real, but there are oyster shells on mountains, yes. That's because the tectonic plates run into each other and one kind of slides up over the other and it turns into a mountain. What was once deep in the ocean comes up out of the ocean and becomes a mountain. That's how it works. Yes. So sea creatures that died in the ocean and fossilized there ride the tectonic plate to the top. Obviously, that's how it works. I don't understand. Like, what are you even claiming with this? I don't understand what their claim is. Are they claiming that Noah's flood, like, flooded the whole earth and this oyster was swimming to the top to breathe air or some shit and found himself on a mountaintop when it receded or something?
Okay? How did a shell get on top of a mountain? That's evidence of a worldwide flood that
No, it isn't. It's evidence of plate tectonics.
we're going to talk about later. But right now, we're talking about how the pre-flood world was much more, everything would have been gigantic because it was more lush, okay?
No.
These are some of the things that Dr. Hovind points out might have been different. Increased air pressure, more CO2. We haven't talked about that, okay? Dr. Hovind believes that originally the Earth was not 70% underwater as it is today. He believes it was 90% covered with trees. In fact, we have evidence.
No, we don't have evidence. That's the hang up here. We don't. We don't have evidence of any of this shit.
That at the North Pole and the South Pole, It used to be lush. Today there's no trees at all. It's all ice. In fact, here's one of those evidences here. Dr. Hovind used to preach all over the world, and when he was preaching in Alaska, he met someone who worked for an oil company, and he said, "Hey, do you ever dig up things that are like strange?" And he goes, "All the time." He told of an incident when they were digging for oil, and they dug 1,000 feet through permafrost. Then after
I remember hearing this claim in his seminar series. It was nonsense.
1,000 feet, they hit a tree, a 300-foot tall tree, okay?
I'm not sure what this has to do with anything, but let me just look this up here. Hang on. So the Barrow, Alaska 300-foot tree under permafrost story, there's zero geological paper, drilling report, company name, evidence of any sort, nothing. No photos, no university confirmation, no logging of the borehole, no sample photos. We have literally nothing on this, except for Hovind telling us that some guy saw some other guy drilling who saw this thing. Is it literally like 3 degrees of separation here? You don't get 300-foot trees in the Arctic, even during warm periods. The tallest trees in history, redwoods, are about 370 feet. Those lived in California, not the Arctic. And the upper limit is 400 to 450, somewhere in that vicinity. The upper limit is the result of water pressure basically being uniform no matter how much water you're pushing up. It depends on how tall the water tube is, so they can't carry water through their veins beyond a certain point because of gravity. Barrow sits on Arctic coastal plain sediments. You would not find an intact 300-foot upright tree under all of that, because that region has never supported forests capable of growing 300 feet tall at any time in the quaternary. Quaternary, by the way, means it's consisting of fourth in a series or whatever. You don't get 300-foot trees in the Arctic, even during warm periods. The tallest trees in history, no, I hit that. Also, permafrost is not 1,000 feet deep in Barrow. Permafrost thickness ranges from 600 to 900 feet, depending on locality. But even if you drilled through all of it, you would be in marine/glacial sedimentary rock, not upright forests. Here's what he's trying to assert this proves. There was a global flood recently. I don't know how that proves that. The flood buried huge forests instantly, and the world used to be tropical everywhere. He never provides any geological mechanism or physical time frame because there isn't one. It's nonsense.
There used to be forests and lush vegetation at the poles. Not only do they find,
There were forests in the Arctic, but not that tall.
Poster somewhere. Not only do they find trees at the poles, they find fossils of dinosaurs. Today, the poles are nothing but snow and ice.
Yep. And you think this proves your understanding of the world's why exactly?
Dinosaurs? They require like jungles.
No? Dinosaurs require jungles. Okay.
Find giant dragonflies, okay? This is a 1.5-foot long wing. So if you've got 2 of them, you've got a 3-foot dinosaur, okay? Dragonfly. So my nose to my finger tip is 3 feet. Today, dragonflies are like this, okay? Gigantism in the fossil record, as well as fossils in the ice, show that this world used to be different.
Yep, exactly. Which is why it's so fucking absurd, the claims that you're making right now. Precisely.
By the way, guys, check out my new shop, owenmorgan.com/shop. I have a bunch of really cool designs on there.
We believe this world used to be in like a greenhouse paradise condition, okay? Let's go back to day 2 where we were looking at air. Okay, so we were back in day 2, looking at the waters above and how it would have created a paradise planet, okay? I want to tie that into the Bible, okay? Over here, we have Dr. Hovind's longevity chart. The Bible gives ages for the first people. The Bible says Adam lived to be, let me get my glasses out here,
Roughly.
930 years. Anybody ever seen someone live to be 930?
No, and that didn't, act as a hint for you that this is complete fucking nonsense? Okay, I've said this previously. I'm going to say it again because it bears repeating. The book of Genesis was never intended to be taken literally. It was always a book about campfire stories. It was campfire stories. It's called antiquity literature, where they tell stories about, what was happening where they tell their stories that they would tell at the campfire. That's what it was for. That's what it was recording. Like the scorpion and the frog, where the scorpion says, "Take me across the river," and the frog says, "No. If I do, you'll sting me." And the scorpion says, "No, if I do that, then we'll both die. Please take me." And the frog says, "All right, hop on." So they get on, he gets on the frog and they're halfway across the river. Scorpion stings him. And the frog says, "Why'd you do that? Now we're both going to die." And the scorpion says, "Because I'm a scorpion and that's a scorpion stew," basically. It's a moral lesson with talking animals. It is a top contender for an American book of Genesis. That's what the book was about. That's what it was for. That's where it came from. It was just telling campfire stories, not literal, actual, real stories that they believed really happened. Some of the stories they certainly believed, but not all of them, by any stretch of the imagination.
Is this a fairy tale?
Yes.
Most people would think it is, but they're wrong, aren't they, Nathan? Nathan's going, this never not. Okay, so all these people, the Bible gives their name, their age. Their name, their age. They're all 900 and something. Okay?
Methuselah was the oldest one, I believe.
Now, then the flood happens around the year 1650 from the creation. And you'll notice after the flood, everybody starts dying quicker. Let's see. Noah's son Shem lived 600 instead of 900. Then Arphaxad lived 400, 400, 400, 200, 200, 200, and then finally Joseph only made it to 110. Today, nobody makes it even to 110. Something changed at the flood. Nathan was talking about that earlier, huh? We're going to look at that. But just that's evidence that the Bible is trustworthy, not a fairy tale.
Wait, what evidence? You didn't give us evidence that it's trustworthy and or not a fairy tale. Storyteller, how long did it take to make the world and everything? 7 days and nights, right? What? What the fuck?
Now, the other thing I want to talk about with day 2 is air. Birds fly in the open firmament. That's air. So air has some invisible attracting powers like a magnet.
I'm sorry? Air has invisible attracting powers like a magnet? Okay.
Remember we talked about magnets attract and repel?
Magnets, how do they work? And I don't want to talk to a scientist, y'all motherfuckers lying and getting me pissed. It's worth it. I'm going to play it. I don't know if you guys know ICP, Insane Clown Posse. It's right here. You can tell because it's most replayed. Let's jump there.
Astounding. Water, fire, air, and dirt. Fucking magnets. How do they work? And I don't want to talk to a scientist. Y'all motherfuckers lying and getting me pissed.
So fucking stupid, dude. I love it to death. It's so fucking stupid. I used to know somebody who's super into ICP back in high school. They were like huge fans. And then ICP turned into the fucking idiots that we all knew they were all along. Or they kind of played their hand and revealed themselves to be the fucking idiots that we all knew that they were all along, I suppose, more accurate. And now the person shamefacedly says, yes, I used to like them. And some of their older stuff is okay. But dude, I love it. I love it to death. How fucking stupid that is.
With something invisible? Okay, so let me do this one now. This is just a leaf blower. You can do this at home too. If I blow this beach ball, what's going to happen?
If you blow this beach ball, there is a joke in here somewhere. Somebody finish this for me.
It's going to go up, and then what? Is it going to just fly away, or is it going to come down?
It's going to hover.
It's going to hover. So this is going to blow and suck at the same time.
Please, you're setting me up for a joke, and I don't want to make the joke. Don't make me make the joke.
How in the world is that possible? First, I'm going to show you, then we'll talk about it, okay? blowing the ball, but attracting the ball at the same time. Every place I move this, the ball.
Avalon of Babylon says, but does it swallow? You're right.
How could that be? Well, huh?
It's invisible here.
There's an invisible property to air. It's called pressure. Okay? Your vacuum, it attracts too, right? It sucks things in. The only thing it does is this. It moves the air. Moving air is like a suction. So this is moving air, but all the still air is attracted. So it's like pushing, it's pushing this to the moving air. Okay? Like a tornado. Tornado is moving air just like a vacuum, and stuff gets sucked in. You know, your house can explode without getting touched by a tornado. Just by getting close
Yeah, it's called bombs. That's how houses explode without tornadoes.
enough to get sucked in. Ooh. Okay? And this is another one I'll show you. So this is again a leaf blower. Okay? So inside this blue box is a leaf blower. It's going to blow, 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 blow up, bounce, and then down. Like Nathan was just doing. But it should suck too, right?
Dude, I'm sorry. The jokes write themselves.
So this tube is going to
Yes, it's the suck zone, says Nerical. The suck zone.
suck into the moving airflow. So Nathan, you want to come up? So you're going to hold the ball right near this. Okay? Here you go.
I forget what this property is called, but yeah, this there's a word for what's happening here. Where it basically when you're blowing something, it kind of gets stuck closer to it or whatever.
I'm going to push go. And it's going to suck it in. Ready? It's going to be noisy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay?
Wow, they turned the audio down and everything, and it was still loud.
Moving air has an attracting power, okay? Just like the magnetism, there's something invisible going on there. Just like God is invisible. Okay, another air one is this drum. You know, Dinosaur Adventureland has been built by mostly donations, okay? Somebody gave us an old drum. Dr. Hovind thinks of an ingenious scientific experiment. So that's what this is. It's bungee cords and a drum. I'm gonna shoot you with air. Is it gonna hurt? No. Ready? Your turn. Oh.
Dude, this is so cringy. I'm sorry, man. It's so incredibly deeply cringy.
So the thing I love about this one is it looks like nothing's happening. Nothing, 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 and then suddenly poof. Air's invisible, but it's not nothing. Just like God. Okay? Now that is actually talked about in the Bible. The Bible says we cannot see the wind or the air, but we can see what it does. We cannot see the Spirit of God move into your heart, but we can see how the person changes and becomes a new creature. Okay? This is John 3. Marvel not that I say unto you, you must be born again. The wind blows where it wants to, and you hear the sound of it, but you can't tell where it came from or where it's going. So is everyone that is born of the Spirit. So, if the Holy Spirit moves into your heart, nobody can see. But it should do something, right? It should
Okay.
blow your hair or something. Well, let's say you used to be a thief and you'd steal things all the time. The Holy Spirit comes in your heart. You
It does what? It comes in your heart?
might see that person change to where they're, let him who steals steal no more. Cool, huh? Now,
This is so stupid. This is the this is a kind of common idea of how Christianity works. I think you could call it the reprobate doctrine, where if you aren't a Christian, then you are just a bad person naturally. Like it just, you do evil things. And when you become Christian, you don't have to try to be a good person. You just are a good person. It happens naturally. And if a Christian does bad things, it's evidence that they don't actually believe and they're pretending and lying to believe in God, basically. That's Steven Anderson's concept of the retrobate doctrine, anyway.
We want to make sure that everybody here who comes through Dinosaur Adventureland has a chance to be born again. If you want the Spirit of God in your heart, please call Dr. Hovind at 855-BIG-DINO or me or Julie, and we'd be happy to show you the scriptures that talk about how you can have the Spirit of God in your heart and be born again in God's family.
No, thank you, madam. I am happy the way I am.
Okay? Now, last thing about air, and then we're going to move to day 3. So,
Oh boy, we're not even through. So we're on day 3 now of creation. Okay.
if we are in an atmosphere, okay, we're no longer in a greenhouse, but we're still in an atmosphere. If you leave our atmosphere and go to the moon, is there any air? No. You got to bring your own, huh? Okay. So, it's kind of like if you're in an elevator. Have you ever seen one of those movies where they're stuck in an elevator and they have 3 minutes to live before the oxygen runs out and they're all going to die?
No. Is that a thing? Is that a movie trope? They're stuck in an elevator and the air is going to run out? I've literally never heard of that before. There's plenty of air in elevators, right? Is this a new fear that should be unlocked in me? I live in fear of elevators, actually. I'm pretty claustrophobic, and the idea of an elevator, like, getting stuck freaks me out so fucking much, dude. Oh my god. I cannot stand it. There's an elevator in my building, the last one I lived in, that, like, there was something that the water tower on top of the building caught fire and was like leaking all over the place. And I was getting in the elevator and water was dripping on my head from inside the elevator shaft. I was like, I'm out. I'm not doing it. I walked up 23 flights of stairs so I didn't have to go on that elevator. They freaked me out so much. Should I worry about running out of air on elevators? Because I'm kind of starting to.
I saw one of those when I was a kid. The planet is like that. Our planet is like a giant enclosed spot.
Okay, let's find out. Is this real? No, you can't run out of air on an elevator. This is nonsense. Elevators are not airtight.
Only so much oxygen. Did you know there's 7 billion people on the Earth?
9 billion now, I think.
All sucking up the oxygen. And probably, 50 billion animals? How come we haven't used up all the oxygen?
Because plants reproduce it, obviously.
And died. Say it louder.
Lightning makes oxygen.
You're close. Something God made makes oxygen. The plants!
Wait, what was it he said? One more time? Hold on.
And died.
Lightning makes more oxygen.
Say it louder.
Lightning makes more oxygen.
I can't understand what he's saying. One more time.
Makes more oxygen.
Say it louder.
Lightning makes more oxygen.
Light makes more oxygen? Is that what he's saying?
Close. Something God made makes oxygen. The plants! Now, when you have a hyperbaric chamber, you
Dude, she's so fucking cringy. I cannot stand it. Please stop.
have to have an oxygen generator. It's a little machine that makes oxygen. But God's oxygen generator is much prettier than a machine. The plants make oxygen for us. That's exactly right. They are beautiful, medicinal,
Like me. Beautiful. Go on.
and edible. And that's our oxygen generator.
It makes
And they smell good. That's right. So God's oxygen generator is so cool, isn't it?
Dude, it is so cringy and stupid. God. I'm so entertained by this shit, though, honestly. By how absolutely psychotic it is. And honestly, in all seriousness, I really believe this. I'm thinking this is child abuse. They are flat out lying to children. This is just wrong. Anyway, it looks like that's the end of it. Tell me what you think in the comments.
So we're about to start day 3. We will see you then.
Yeah, tell me your thoughts.